back. An iconic 90s album is coming to life this week on stage here in the Twin Cities. Alanis Morissette's Tony and Grammy Award-winning musical Jagged Little Pill at the Orpheum Theater in Minneapolis.
Through powerhouse songs, the show explores current issues with authenticity and empathy. And today, we're joined by two of the show's stars to discuss the messages and the production.
Yeah, we want to welcome Lauren Chanel, who plays Frankie, and Rishi Golani, who plays Phoenix, to the CCO studio. Thanks to you guys for coming in. I saw you last night, though.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
We saw the opening night performance here, and it was really, really incredible. The first thing that struck me about it was way funnier than I thought it was going to be. I should have known. I mean, Diablo Cody, who won a Tony Award for this show and an Oscar for writing Juno, she wrote the book for this. But am I a weirdo, or do you get that a lot? Like, this is funny.
Oh, yeah.
No, we get that all the time.
Yeah, okay. People are like expecting it to not be funny, but like we have to be able to balance the really heavy emotions that we have with some comedy, and it's awesome. Yeah.
It does get heavy at times.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit of the synopsis. I mean, we cover some tough topics: marital struggles, sexual assault, drug addiction, which is interesting when you juxtapose it with what you just described of comedy. Is that helpful, kind of having that balance in the show, so it's not just one way or the other? How would you describe it?
It's needed.
Yes.
It's needed. It's a great balance, because you have, like, okay, boom, a heavy hitter, then be like, let's relax real quick before we jump back into another heavy hitter that's like, whoa, off guard.
Yeah. And it's also like very reflective of our society, you know. Laughter is often like the coping mechanism for what people go through. And we have moments in the show where people are laughing through their suffers, and then they have a moment where they acknowledge how severe it really is. And I love that moment where we give it to the audience in that way.
In a way, this more serious parts of it, this show reminded me a little bit of Next to Normal, which deals with mental health struggles. I have to imagine you have audience members that catch you after the show and share some pretty personal stories, right?
For sure, yeah. DMs and all, yeah.
How do you guys handle that as actors? I mean, you're not trained mental health professionals, right?
Yeah.
Yes, for me, it may look different, but I do reiterate, I'm not trained in this. You know, acknowledge what they're saying to me, and, you know, speak from a point of, like, I understand.
I'm a human.
Yeah, I'm a human, I get it. Seek help, seek something, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, and we're trained by our press team to be able to handle it in a way that's appropriate for them and also for us, you know, because we can't offer that to them, you know, but we're happy that people are coming to the show and dealing with those things and, you know, coming to terms with it in their own ways. It's why we do it.
Yeah.
So
I feel a mix of the crowd, I bet, is just a huge fan of Alanis Morissette, I imagine. And you guys are performing these iconic songs. I mean, huge hits. Do you notice the crowd maybe trying to sing along and kind of getting into it?
Oh my gosh, there's a moment where we do Head Over Feet, which is our duet, and it's very quiet in the beginning, the way that we orchestrated it, and I always hear, every time in the front row, I hear someone going, I have no choice, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's cute, and I'm like, it's just hilarious. I love it.
There's some real bangers as well, obviously. We showed You Ought to Know, but there was a staging of the song Uninvited that to me is one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen on stage. Can you explain that scene a little bit?
That is my favorite. It is my favorite scene, my favorite song, my favorite imagery of the song. So I don't want to spoil.
I think it's probably safe to say that there's a mental health and drug addiction
let's
struggle.
say it like that, yes. Our MJ, who is Heidi Blickenstaff, a legend, she deals with, let's call it an addiction. She deals with an addiction, come find out what it is, and she's like battling the addiction self in her, and really, they do such a good job of showing the inner fight and how it does mentally to you as well as physically and what it can do. And the lighting and everything just pulls the whole thing together, starting in the dark, like,
and that staging,
chef kiss.
It's horrifying, and like
it is. It's like a horror movie.
It's a horror movie. Yeah.
And when people ask like, what was that? We always say, you know, it's up to you to interpret what really that meant to you.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
you two come off pretty young. Maybe you weren't around when the album dropped in the 90s.
Not at all.
But you both speak so highly of the music and how it's being presented. Can you explain how there's this cross-generational thing happening with the audience and with those who are experiencing it?
I love to talk about this because it's my favorite. It's my favorite point of the show. I wasn't alive when the album came out, and when I auditioned for the show, I didn't know any of the music either. I hate to admit that. I'm sorry, but the thing that's so wonderful is that we have like a lot of people that come that know the music. They're there for the music, and then we have people in our generation who are there for the story because they know that it's a progressive story. It's liberal and it's about Gen Z and how they're fitting into our society. So it's very cool when I see like parents bring their children and they both sort of have this moment where they kind of understand each other a little bit more because there's common ground. And that's one of the common themes in our show, actually, common ground, that we talk about that phrase. And it's cool just to see that marriage between the two generations, you know?
Even if you don't know the words, as you hear them, they will speak to you no matter what age you are.
Yeah, because coming to being yourself in society, being loud, that's something that any generation wants, you know? It's universal, it's human being, it's how we live.
Guys, thanks so much for coming in. Thanks for putting on a great show last night. There's more shows coming. You can see Jagged Little Pill at the Orpheum Theater through August 13th. Tickets start at $40, and we've got a link for more info at WCCO.com.